Yesterday, July 28th, 2024, Venezuela had its historic presidential election. All of the exit polling showed the opposition candidate, Edmundo Gonzalez, winning by a huge margin, up to 90% in some places. But nonetheless, Nicolas Maduro has claimed victory, and since yesterday, the repressive organs of Chavismo have been brutally putting people down, crushing dissent. They have already killed someone in the state of Táchira. The colectivos did that. Those are the paramilitary groups on motorcycles. And around the country, the riot police and the National Guard have been beating the crap out of people to get them to go home. In other places, men basically dressed like ninjas with no kind of identifying insignia. We don't know if they're state operatives or if they're paramilitary groups who support Chavismo. Either way, though, Chavismo is repressing the opposition, who very obviously won this presidential election. And of course, predictably, Edmundo Gonzalez is saying, yes, we know I won, but let's just be peaceful. And the leader of the opposition, Maria Corina Machado, is seen nodding her head, agreeing with him. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a reason why I don't take those actors seriously anymore. The Venezuelan opposition is controlled by a false opposition who in the end is not willing to answer the violence of Chavismo with violence. Wars of liberation can be just wars if they are done correctly, and in the case of Venezuela, the people have all the justification in the world. The Bolivarian Revolution has already killed well over 400,000 people, which is 25% more fatalities than all deaths in the entire 20-year U.S. war in Afghanistan. That is Chavismo. During the day of the election, I kept my mouth shut with my Venezuelan friends because I saw how full of hope they were, but I figured on two distinct possibilities just based on Chavismo's repeated patterns from the past. One possibility would be the one that happened, where even though everybody knows Edmundo won the election, Maduro just plain declares himself the winner and then immediately deploys the military and the police and the paramilitary groups to crush dissent. The other possibility that I saw was if Chavismo wanted to be smart and try to dodge some sanctions, they would have strong-armed Maduro to step down in exchange for a dignified exit, let him go to Cuba or wherever with his millions, and they would have let Edmundo be the president, but then immediately do what they did when they let the opposition have the National Assembly in 2015, create a parallel government, give all the power to that parallel government, and then the new president would basically become like the King of England, just a really famous guy in the capital. So as we saw, Chavismo went with option number one, and they are still repressing people, and the coming months are going to be an absolute nightmare for the Venezuelan population because it's not enough for Chavismo just to win or just to come out on top. They have to utterly crush and humiliate their opposition. And the fact that the country was so bold in facing down Chavismo yesterday and creating a real challenge to Maduro's regime, they actually threatened, they almost made it impossible for him to steal the election. But of course, Chavismo's got 99.9% of the guns in that country. So what's the opposition to do? Nonetheless, this is just reinforcing that there is no such thing as an election, a fair election under the Chavista regime. And these thugs, these criminals, this drug cartel posing as a government will not leave power peacefully. They simply will not leave power peacefully. That's why I no longer have faith in elections in Venezuela. And I would also like to give a massive shout out to Venezuelan dissident political leader Eduardo Bitar. He is the only kind of political leader I have seen who has been completely correct about the nature of the Chavista regime and the nature of the false opposition this entire time. I've known the guy for about 5 years, and I didn't believe a lot of what he was telling me at the beginning, but holy moly, every time some stuff goes down, Bitar was right. I would also like to give credit to journalists like Daniel Lara Farias, who lives in exile in Germany, Joana Montenegro in Colombia, and Esteban Hernandez living in exile in Miami. These folks were some of the few voices in Venezuelan media who had the courage to say, folks, this is just a dog and pony show. These people are not leaving peacefully. And last but not least, in the English-speaking world, one of my favorite gringo journalists covering Latin America, Joshua Collins of the Pirate Wire service. He is also one of the few people who was completely aware of what was going to happen, and he's been there on the ground. He has been detained by SEBIN. A lot of people don't like his opinions, but the dude's not wrong a lot of the time. Maintaining a truthful narrative of that nature is, in the end, much healthier, because it will help the Venezuelan people, especially the people in exile, sooner accept the fact that these folks are not going away until you finally organize a new Venezuelan army from abroad, or wherever it be. Army from abroad, insurgency at home, both at the same time. Take your pick, but it's got to be one of those if these folks ever want to go home to a free country. Thank you for watching Venezuela Explained.